This can't be, my daughter gave birth. Even the alien Empress was shocked, HFY. The great palace of the alien empire had never been this silent. Towers of crystal and living metal rose high above the capital world, yet inside the highest hall, even the air seemed afraid to move. Servants stood frozen along the walls. Guards kept their weapons lowered but ready. At the center of the hall, upon a throne shaped from ancient stone, sat the Empress herself. She was old by the measure of stars, her rule stretching across centuries and systems. Nothing in the galaxy surprised her anymore. She had seen worlds burn, alliances rise and fall, and entire species vanish into history. Yet now her hands trembled slightly as she stared at the figure kneeling before her. Her daughter. The Empress had believed her dead. Many cycles ago, the royal ship carrying the young princess had vanished beyond the border regions. Scouts found only wreckage and silence. The court mourned. The Empress locked her grief deep inside and ruled on, harder and colder than before. No one spoke the princess's name again, until today. The woman kneeling on the polished floor looked thinner than the Empress remembered, her royal markings faded by time and hardship. Her clothing was simple, not the flowing silk of the court. But her eyes were the same, steady, brave, and full of quiet fire. "My mother," the daughter said softly, "I have returned." The Empress rose from her throne, the motion sharp and sudden. Gasps spread through the hall. She stepped down slowly, her gaze never leaving her child. Logic fought emotion inside her mind. Every test had confirmed it. This was truly her daughter, alive, real. "You were lost," the Empress said, her voice controlled but tight. "The stars themselves swallowed you." "I was lost," the daughter replied, "but I survived." Before the Empress could speak again, a sharp pain crossed her daughter's face. She pressed a hand to her stomach and inhaled deeply. A nearby healer stepped forward at once, alarm flashing across their face. Only then did the Empress notice. Her daughter was pregnant. The word struck the Empress harder than any weapon. Her mind rejected it at once. Their species no longer reproduced naturally. For generations, birth had come only through carefully controlled processes, managed by science and law. The royal line especially was protected from such uncertainty. "This cannot be," the Empress said. The healer knelt quickly. "Your Majesty, the signs are clear. The child is close." Murmurs broke through the hall like cracks in ice. Shock, fear, disbelief. Council members exchanged uneasy glances. A natural birth. In the royal bloodline, it was unthinkable. The Empress looked back at her daughter, searching her face. "Explain." "There is no time," the daughter whispered, her breathing growing uneven. "Please trust me." For the first time in centuries, the Empress did not command. She nodded once. The hall was cleared in moments. Only healers, guards, and the Empress herself remained as the daughter was taken into a private chamber. Ancient machines hummed to life, scanning and measuring, trying to understand what should not exist. Hours passed. The Empress stood at the edge of the chamber, unmoving. Memories pressed in on her, of teaching her daughter to read the stars, of quiet laughter in the gardens, of promises never spoken aloud. She had lost her once. She would not lose her again. At last, a cry echoed through the room. It was small, weak, alive. The healers froze. The machines spiked with warning lights, their readings flashing faster and faster. One by one, systems failed, unable to classify what they were seeing. The child's biology did not match known patterns. It was not fully alien, not fully anything the Empire understood. The Empress stepped forward. The healer turned, eyes wide with fear and awe. "Your Majesty, the child lives against all expectation." The Empress took the newborn into her arms. The infant was warm, fragile, and impossibly real. Tiny fingers curled around the Empress's thumb with surprising strength. In that moment, the Empress felt something she had not felt in centuries: hope. Then the data reached her. The lead scientist approached carefully, holding a tablet with trembling hands. "Your Majesty, the genetic scan is complete." "And," the Empress asked, "there is another origin present, not from our species." Silence fell heavy again. "Say it," the Empress ordered. The scientist swallowed. "Human." The word meant little to most of the Empire. Humans were a minor species from a distant spiral arm, short-lived, divided, known more for surviving disasters than for creating great empires, barely worth the attention of the court. The Empress stared down at the child. "A human?" she repeated. "Yes, Your Majesty." The child is a hybrid. The human traits are dominant in several critical areas: adaptability, neural growth, emotional processing. It should not be possible, yet it is. Shock rippled through the palace as the truth spread in whispers. A royal child born naturally carrying human blood. To many it was a threat, to others a shame. To the Empress it was a mystery. She looked at her daughter, pale but awake now. "You bonded with a human," the daughter nodded slowly. "He saved me. When my ship fell, when the stars turned against me, he did not see a princess. He saw someone who needed help." The Empress said nothing. "On his world, life is fragile," the daughter continued. "They lose much, they endure more. Humans survive by caring for one another, even when it costs them everything." The Empress glanced at the child again. The infant's eyes opened briefly, dark and alert, far too aware for a newborn. For a moment, the Empress felt as if the child was studying her. The council demanded answers before the next cycle ended. Some called for isolation, others for secrecy. A few quietly suggested the child should not exist at all. The Empress silenced them all with a single raised hand. "This child is of my blood," she declared. "And while it breathes, it is under my protection." "But your Majesty," one counselor protested, "the implications are mine to carry," the Empress replied coldly. Outside the palace, sensors picked up unusual shifts in space. Distant powers had noticed something change. Something old had stirred. Inside a quiet chamber, the Empress stood alone beside a cradle. The child slept peacefully, unaware of fear, politics, or war. The Empress reached out and gently touched the child's small hand. For the first time in centuries, the future was uncertain. And for the first time, the Empress was afraid and curious. Far beyond the palace walls, in the vast dark between stars, the galaxy waited. The days after the child's birth changed the palace in quiet but deep ways. Nothing looked different on the surface. Guards still stood at their posts. Servants still moved through the halls. The Empress still ruled with calm authority. Yet beneath it all, tension grew like a storm waiting to break. The child was kept in a protected wing of the palace, surrounded by shields and watchers. Only a few were allowed inside. Healers came often, their faces serious as they studied the infant's growth. Each visit brought more confusion. The child grew faster than expected, not in size alone, but in awareness. His eyes followed movement. He reacted to voices. When someone entered the room with fear or anger, the child would cry. When the Empress entered, calm would return. The scientists recorded everything. "It does not match any known development cycle," one of them said during a private briefing. "The human traits are not weakening the royal blood, they are strengthening it." The Empress listened without speaking. "The child's nervous system adapts rapidly," the scientist continued. "Stress responses stabilize instead of escalating. Pain signals reduce faster than normal. It is as if the child's body expects hardship and prepares for it." The Empress thought of her daughter's words. Humans survive by caring, by enduring. "And the risks?" the Empress asked. "There are many," the scientist admitted. "But also possibilities. If this biology could be understood, it could change medicine, diplomacy, even war." That word lingered. War. News spread quickly beyond the palace. Other empires had noticed the unusual energy readings during the birth. Spies whispered of a royal secret. Rumors twisted the truth into dangerous shapes. Some claimed the Empress had lost control. Others said the empire was weakening from within. Within the council chamber, the pressure grew unbearable. "This cannot be allowed," one counselor said, striking the floor with his staff. "A hybrid heir threatens our stability. The people will not accept it." "The people do not know," another replied, "and they will not unless we fail to guide the story." The Empress sat at the center, her expression unreadable. "There is also the human issue," a third counselor added. "If word spreads that a human bonded with the royal line, it invites questions, demands, even claims." "The human is dead," someone said coldly. The Empress's gaze snapped toward them. The counselor stiffened. "That is what the official report says?" The daughter had told the truth only to her mother. The human had not survived the final escape. He had stayed behind, injured, buying time. The daughter had carried their child across stars alone. The Empress dismissed the council with a wave of her hand. She needed silence. Later that cycle, she visited her daughter. The daughter sat beside the cradle, her posture still weak but her eyes strong. She looked up as the Empress entered. "They are afraid," the daughter said quietly. "They are always afraid," the Empress replied. "Fear is easier than change." The daughter watched her child sleep. "On Earth, humans fear many things, yet they still step forward. They do not wait for certainty." The Empress studied her daughter. "You have changed." Yes, the daughter said, because I had to. The Empress nodded once. She understood that language better than words. As days passed, the child began to do something no one expected. He laughed. The sound was soft, almost fragile, but it echoed through the room like light. Servants froze when they heard it. Healers paused mid-scan. Even the Empress felt her breath catch. The child laughed when faces leaned close, when gentle hands touched him, when his mother smiled. But once, when a counselor entered the room filled with anger and disgust, the child cried sharply. The sound was sudden and strong. The counselor stepped back in shock, his thoughts unraveling into confusion. After that, fewer counselors volunteered to visit. The palace guards began sharing quiet stories among themselves, how they felt calmer when posted near the child's wing, how arguments faded, how exhaustion lifted for a time. Outside the palace, unrest grew. A rival empire moved ships closer to the border. They claimed routine patrols, but everyone knew better. They sensed weakness or opportunity. The Empress watched the star maps late into the night. "We cannot hide forever," she said to her advisors. "The galaxy will force the truth into the open." One advisor hesitated. "Then perhaps the truth should be shaped, not concealed." The Empress considered this. Meanwhile, the child continued to grow, his eyes now focused clearly. When he grasped a finger, his grip was steady. When he cried, it was with purpose. When he slept, the room felt warm and safe, as if the air itself was resting. The scientists found another anomaly. "The child's brain responds to emotional signals," one reported. "Not just his own, but others. He is not reading minds, but he is sensing states, stress, calm." Trust, the Empress felt a strange chill. "Humans evolved this way," the scientist added. "On crowded worlds, in constant danger, they learn to read each other to survive." The Empress looked through the observation glass at the sleeping child. A knock sounded. A messenger entered, bowing deeply. "Your Majesty, the rival empire has crossed the outer boundary." The council reconvened in chaos. "They are testing us," one shouted. "They think we are divided." "They sense change," another said, "and they fear it." "Then we must show strength," a general declared. "Force is the only language they respect." The Empress raised her hand. Silence followed. "Prepare the fleet," she said calmly, "but we will not strike first." The meeting ended, but unease remained. That night, alarms rang through the palace. An infiltration team breached the outer defenses. Not an army, a small group, precise, skilled. They moved toward one location only, the child. Guards rushed to intercept, but something strange happened. Communication lagged. Sensors flickered. Confusion spread among the attackers. Orders failed to land cleanly. Movement slowed. Inside the child's chamber, the Empress arrived just as the attackers reached the inner corridor. The child woke and began to cry, not in fear, in warning. The attackers froze, their thoughts tangled by sudden doubt. Guards disarmed them with ease. The threat ended without a single shot fired. The Empress stood still, heart pounding. She looked down at the child, who quieted the moment danger passed. In that instant, the Empress understood something profound. This child was not a weapon. He was something far more dangerous, a change. As dawn rose over the palace, the Empress issued a command. "The time for silence is ending," she said. "Prepare the galaxy." Because soon everyone would know, and nothing would remain the same. The announcement did not come with trumpets or celebration. It came quietly, carried through secure channels to the leaders of nearby systems, and then slowly to the wider galaxy. The Empress confirmed what many had feared and few had believed. Her daughter had returned. A child had been born. The child carried human blood. The reaction was immediate. Some worlds responded with shock, others with anger, a few with open fear. Humans had always been seen as survivors, not rulers. They were known for enduring harsh planets, for refusing to vanish even when logic said they should. But a human tied to an ancient royal line was something new, something unsettling. The rival empire that had moved ships closer to the border issued a public statement. They claimed concern for galactic balance. They demanded transparency. They demanded access to the child. The Empress denied them. Inside the palace, tension sharpened. Guards doubled. Shields strengthened. Advisors argued late into the night. Every choice now felt like it could shape centuries. The child continued to grow. He was still small, still fragile in body, but his presence filled rooms. When he was calm, others felt it. When he was restless, people nearby struggled to focus. The scientists no longer doubted the truth. This was not coincidence. The child's mixed nature created a field of emotional awareness that spread quietly, touching everyone close to him. The Empress ordered further study, but with limits. No harm, no invasive methods. The child was not an experiment, he was family. Her daughter watched all of this with mixed emotions. Pride, fear, guilt. She had not planned this future. She had only chosen to love and survive. One evening, as stars drifted slowly beyond the palace windows, the daughter spoke. "Mother," she said, "they will come again." "Yes," the Empress replied, "they will." "They will not stop," the daughter continued. "Not because of power, because of fear." The Empress looked at her child, asleep in her arms. "Fear has ruled this galaxy longer than any empire," the daughter nodded. "Humans learn to live with fear, they do not erase it, they move through it." Those words stayed with the Empress. Soon, the rival empire acted again. This time not with stealth but force. A fleet crossed the border openly, positioning itself near a critical trade route. It was a message: submit or be tested. The council demanded action. "They are daring us to respond," the generals argued. "If we hesitate, others will follow." The Empress listened, then stood. "We will meet them," she said, "not with weapons first, with presence." The decision shocked everyone. A diplomatic envoy was prepared, heavily guarded but unarmed. At its center was the Empress herself. Against all advice, she brought the child. The journey to the neutral station took hours. During that time, something unexpected happened. The ship's crew, hardened veterans all, felt different. Old grudges softened. Tension eased, focus sharpened. No one spoke of it openly, but all felt it. When they arrived, the rival leaders were waiting. Their forms were sharp, armored, built for dominance. Their eyes fixed immediately on the child. "So this is the threat," their leader said. "It does not look like much." The Empress stepped forward calmly. "Threat is a matter of perspective," the leader sneered. "You blend bloodlines and expect stability. Humans are chaos." The child stirred slightly. His eyes opened. The room changed. The rival leader faltered just for a breath. Doubt crossed his thoughts. Memories surfaced uninvited. Loss, fear, long-buried uncertainty. "What is this?" he demanded, shaking his head. "This," the Empress said evenly, "is humanity." The negotiations did not go as expected. Anger dissolved into argument. Argument into discussion. Discussion into something like understanding. No commands were given, no orders forced. Yet by the end, the rival fleet withdrew to a safer distance. The galaxy noticed. Whispers spread fast now. Some called the child a miracle, others a danger. A few called him hope. Not all reactions were peaceful. A hidden faction within the empire moved in secret. They believed tradition mattered more than survival, that purity was strength, that the child would end everything they knew. They planned one final act. The attack came during a ceremonial gathering when many systems were watching. It was meant to be swift, decisive, and final. It failed. As the threat emerged, panic surged through the crowd. Guards reacted, but confusion spread faster. In the center of it all, the child cried out. Not loudly, clearly. The sound cut through fear like light through fog. People stopped running, orders clarified, hands steadied. Guards moved as one, not driven by rage but focus. The attackers froze, overwhelmed by the weight of what they felt. Regret, doubt, shame. They were disarmed without bloodshed. Across the live feeds, billions watched. They saw something no weapon could show: unity. In the aftermath, silence filled the chamber. Then slowly voices rose, not in anger, in wonder. The Empress stepped forward, holding the child high enough for all to see. "This child is not the end of our empire," she said. "He is its evolution." She turned slightly, her gaze sweeping across the stars displayed around them. Humans were never the strongest. They were never the fastest. They survived because they learned something we forgot. She looked down at her grandson. They learned that strength shared is stronger than strength hoarded. The words spread far and wide. Some rejected them. Many resisted, but seeds had been planted. That night the Empress stood alone in the child's chamber. The galaxy felt closer now, smaller, more fragile. Her daughter joined her. "He changed them," the daughter said softly. "Yes," the Empress replied. "And they will try to change him." She placed a hand over the cradle. "But they will fail." The child slept peacefully, unaware of titles, threats, or destiny. His breathing was slow and steady. Human, alien, both. Outside, fleets repositioned. Alliances shifted. Old enemies spoke cautiously. The galaxy had not chosen peace, but it had felt it. And once felt, it could never be forgotten. The weeks that followed felt heavy, as if the galaxy itself was holding its breath. No great battles erupted. No grand celebrations followed. Instead, quiet movements spread across star systems, fleets repositioned with caution. Messages were sent with careful words instead of threats. Leaders who had once shouted now paused before speaking. The child had changed the rhythm of power. Inside the palace, life continued, but nothing was the same. The child was no longer hidden. He was not placed on a throne or surrounded by ceremony, but he was seen, carried through halls, held by his mother, watched closely by the Empress. People reacted in different ways. Some bowed deeply, feeling something they could not explain. Some avoided eye contact, unsure of what they felt. Others simply smiled, surprised by warmth rising in their chests without reason. The scientists finalized their reports. "The child's influence is not control," one said during a final briefing. "It is resonance. He does not command emotions. He reflects them, strengthens calm, weakens fear. In simple words," the Empress said, "he reminds others of themselves." "Yes," the scientist replied. "Especially the parts they hide." The council met for what many believed would be the most important session in history. Old laws were questioned. Ancient rules were placed beside present reality. Some traditions broke under their own weight. Others bent and survived. One by one, counselors spoke. "We cannot pretend the galaxy has not seen this. Our people feel it. Denying it will fracture us. Humanity has already influenced us, whether we approve or not." At last, the Empress stood. "For centuries," she said, "we believed stability came from control, from distance, from separating ourselves from what we feared." She looked at the child resting quietly in his cradle beside her. "And yet, when faced with collapse, it was connection that steadied us." She paused, letting the truth settle. "I will not erase our past," she continued, "but I will not chain our future to it." Her decision followed. The child would be recognized publicly, not as a ruler, not as a symbol of dominance, but as an heir to a new path. The announcement traveled faster than expected. Across the galaxy, reactions poured in. Human worlds responded first, shocked, confused. Many did not believe it. Humans had always existed on the edge of greater powers. To hear that one of their own blood now touched the highest throne of an ancient empire felt unreal. But then came something else. Pride, not the loud kind, the quiet kind, the kind that comes from being seen. Other species followed. Some reached out in hope, some in caution. A few in anger, but none could ignore what had happened. The rival empire watched closely. Their leader sat alone in a dark chamber, replaying the moment when doubt had entered his thoughts without permission. He had spent his life mastering fear in others. Now he knew what it felt like to face his own. "Prepare a message," he said at last. "Peace terms?" an advisor asked. "No," the leader replied. "A question." The message was simple. "What do you want this galaxy to become?" The Empress read it in silence. She did not answer at once. That night she stood beneath an open dome, stars burning softly above. Her daughter stood beside her, holding the child close. "He will grow," the daughter said quietly, "and the galaxy will grow with him." "Yes," the Empress replied. "And one day he will choose his own path." The daughter looked worried. "And if they try to shape him?" "They will," the Empress said calmly. "But humans taught you something important." The daughter nodded. "Choice matters." In the days that followed, something unexpected happened. Conflict slowed, not stopped, not erased, but slowed. Trade routes reopened where they had once closed. Old enemies exchanged cautious messages. Small wars lost support as soldiers questioned why they fought. The child did not travel, he did not speak. He did nothing but exist, and yet existence was enough. The Empress began a new initiative, mixed delegations, shared councils, human observers invited not as guests but as equals. Resistance was strong at first. Tradition fought back fiercely, but change had momentum now. One evening the Empress sat alone with the child. He was older now, stronger. His eyes held curiosity instead of confusion. He reached up and touched her face. The Empress froze. She had ruled without softness for centuries, yet now something inside her broke gently. "You will outlive me," she said softly, "and you will see things I cannot imagine." The child smiled, not because he understood the words, because he felt the truth behind them. Years passed. The child learned to walk beneath watchful eyes, learned to speak in two languages, learned stories of stars and soil, of empires and small homes, of loss and kindness. He learned of his human father, of sacrifice without reward, of love without guarantee. He learned of his alien lineage, Of duty, of patience, of responsibility. He asked many questions. Some had no answers. That was okay. When the time came, the Empress gathered the galaxy once more. She stood before them, older now, her presence still commanding but softened by time. "This era began with fear," she said. "It ends with understanding." She gestured to the child standing beside her. "He is not your ruler, he is your reminder." She looked directly into the cameras. A reminder that strength without empathy leads to ruin, that survival without connection is empty. She placed her hand on the child's shoulder. Humans endured when logic said they should not. Not because they were superior, but because they refused to face the dark alone. The galaxy listened. The rival empire sent another message. This time it was simple. "We are ready to try." The Empress smiled faintly. The child looked up at the stars, unaware of borders or history. He saw light, possibility, movement. He laughed softly. And across the galaxy, tension eased just a little more, not because peace had been declared, but because, for the first time, it felt possible. The Empress watched him, knowing her reign would end one day, knowing mistakes would still be made, knowing darkness would return in other forms, yet she felt calm, because the impossible had already happened, and the galaxy had survived it.